Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
OnX just launched OnX Fish.
The third area had way more carcasses, bug carcasses than the other areas.
Yeah, it's great. I get to use it now, but what is it going to look like in 20 years?
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio. That's right. Welcome to the show. I'm Brett Amundson along with Dan Amundson. What's up, Dan?
Hey.
We got Ben Brettingen on the show this week to talk about OnX Fish. That's right. And they want you to try it. It's free. Minnesota anglers, they want you to try the OnX Fish app. We'll explain more about that coming up later in the show. Joe Henry will also talk about how to change up some tactics when fishing gets a little bit tough, and have a Lake of the Woods fishing report on the way. And we got some news from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources that we'll get you all caught up on. But first, Dan, who are this week's sponsors?
Inver Grove Toyota. When looking for a new pickup truck, go to Inver Grove Toyota. They have exactly what you need, and you can save money with the Fish Hunt Forever code. Learn more at invergrovetoyota.com. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital. Plan a trip for this open water season at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Prairie Sportsman. Watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel, or check your TV guide for local air times. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devils Lake this summer. Learn more at haybaleheights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort. Come fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. Fly directly from Minneapolis. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
Yeah, excited to have Guardian Eagle Resort on as a new sponsor. We're going to be taking a trip there later this summer and filming. Watch for that coming to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. And don't forget, we got some really cool Fish Hunt Forever gear, like this pretty cool t-shirt right here. On the back it says probably "I hunt and always will," stuff like that. And Dan, are you wearing? Dan's got a hoodie on and a hat.
Sure. Yeah, we got to get these hats. People want these hats. We got to get people. These hats are the coolest hats in the world. Mine's faded. I need a new one. I've worn it so much. It's sun faded and rain faded.
We'll get some new ones. We got new sun shirts for anglers out there to keep yourself protected from the sun with hoods. We've also got dog beds. I got some new dog beds, including for you black lab owners that want a black dog bed so you don't see the dog hair. I got one with a mallard on it. Find out more at sportingjournalradio.com. Click on store. And for you walleye anglers, Dan had some tips in a recent Fish Hunt Forever video, didn't you?
Yeah, so, there's just times of the year, whether, fish are gorging on bugs or gorging on a ton of bait in the lake, or there's a weird front that come through, the fish they stop biting. They stop biting what you want them to eat. And so you got to do things maybe you don't want to do. Maybe you have to buy live bait if you're not a live bait angler, me. Or you just have to break out a couple new finesse approaches. And so in our latest Fish Hunt Forever video, that's exactly what had happened. I stared at literally hundreds of walleyes the day before that wouldn't bite any sort of artificial bait that I own. So I had to buy live bait and try a couple different things. And I did it and was successful, and show you how to do it on the latest Fish Hunt Forever video. So go over to that channel. There'll probably be a card right up in this corner. For whatever reason you want to stop watching this podcast and head over there and watch that right now, I guess you can do that, or wait till the end of the podcast and just go to the Fish Hunt Forever channel and watch it there.
You could probably link it below too.
And that too. Sure, wherever. I think it might help the algorithm if you search it though.
Well, okay, so search it.
So if you want to help us, search it. So
just saying.
Fish Hunt Forever.
YouTube. Thank you very much. That's right. So that is something we're trying to do with the Fish Hunt Forever channel, is give you some education, give you some tips, as well as cool places to go hunt and fish, and some nice eye candy and some cool outdoor content. Check it out. You can learn more about what we do at the Fish Hunt Forever website, fishhuntforever.com. In fact, we just put a new 5-minute video up there that just explains everything that we're about, from creating hunting and fishing videos to doing this podcast to talking about Minnesota outdoors with Prairie Sportsman, and also working to preserve the tradition of the outdoors for the future. and doing everything we can to fight for our rights as hunters and anglers. Find out more at fishhuntforever.com. While you're there, click on Tundra Deal, because you can get a deal on a new Toyota Tundra at Inver Grove Toyota, right off of 494 Robert Street. Check them out. They got they've been custom building these Toyota Tundras, and they're just really cool. They got $1,500 customer cash right now available on Toyota Tundras, plus some great prices already. And if you're looking for something different, I know I just talked to somebody that wanted to get a Toyota Tundra. They ended up with a Tacoma instead. Tacomas are great outdoor trucks as well, a little bit smaller, and so no, if you don't need to tow something quite as big, a Tacoma might be the truck for you. Find out more at Inver Grove Toyota, and you can get a deal. You have to go to our website and click on the link and then fill out the form to get that deal and get $500 off a trade-in right now at Inver Grove Toyota.
I feel like if you don't do that, if my math is correct, you're throwing away $1,500 if you don't take advantage of this deal. I think that's how it works. $1,500. Anyway. Well, didn't you say 15?
Well, there's customer cash, but anybody gets that right now at Inver Grove.
Yeah, that's my point. If you don't take advantage of that, you're wasting $1,500. Picture it as you losing $1,500 if you don't take advantage of this deal right now.
Just throwing it out the window of your old pickup.
Forever.
Yeah, you get yourself a new one. Save you could save $2,000 right now. I think if my math works.
So then you're losing $2,000. If you don't. You're losing. Picture it of losing $2,000 out of your bank account. So go buy a truck.
Just gone. Inver Grove Toyota, using the Fish Hunt Forever code. Video of the week. All right, this is something that you watched, right, Dan?
Yep, Brandon Polinick does some really cool videos following the Bass Elite Series. You kind of get a cool behind the scenes of the process of fishing those tournaments, what goes on, where they stay, especially at the Classic. There's a lot of things that happen before the fishing and after the fishing happens that we get some eyes on. So kind of cool to see that if you're interested in tournament fishing or just the Super Bowl of fishing. You really get to see a day in the life of a elite angler fishing the Bassmaster Classic, which is kind of cool. And there's a bunch of fishing mixed in too, but pretty cool to see what all goes into all that, the whole shebang of the Bassmaster Classic.
It's pretty well done too. Good videography.
Yeah, absolutely.
So check that one out. And now, some headlines. Well, Minnesota hunters and anglers will care about this stuff. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is beginning a new 3-year research project in northeastern Minnesota to gather additional data on deer populations. The DNR will place cameras on public and private lands to gather additional deer density data in deer permit areas in the Northeast. Traditional deer population modeling relies heavily on hunter harvest data. This project will provide additional data to increase confidence in making harvest decisions in the study area. That will also help managers understand if deer densities differ between private and public lands, which potentially could be the basis for changing the way antlerless tags are allocated in the future. In June, DNR researchers would contact private landowners by mail in pre-selected locations to request access to their property to install an unbaited trail camera. They'll collect data from July to September, then be removed before the fall hunting season. Cameras will be placed in different locations each year to capture data in varying locations. And camera location derived from private properties will be considered private data. Results and final analysis of the data are expected in 2027. So they're trying to address the deer situation in the Northeast and utilize new technology as well. So I think that's a good move from the DNR. Lots of free stuff taking place this weekend. It's Take a Kid Fishing Weekend, Friday, June 7th to Sunday, June 9th. Minnesota residents can fish without a license if they take children 15 or younger. Now, 15 and younger don't need a license anyway, but during Take a Kid Fishing, if you're an adult and you want to bring a kid out there, you get to fish for free as well too. Also, June 8th is Free Park Day, so you can visit some state parks. And visitors to Jay Cook State Park can learn more about the historic swinging bridge with the 100th anniversary. It's the 100th anniversary of that bridge in the Jay Cook State Park. It was first built by ropes and logs in 1924 by the U.S. Forest Service, then later rebuilt by the Civilian Conservation Corps and stonemasons. It's been rebuilt or reconstructed 5 times over its 100-year history spanning the St. Louis River. It's also free ATV, no registration weekend this weekend, June 8th and 9th. Minnesotans with an all-terrain vehicle registered for agricultural use can ride the state's public ATV trails without paying the $60 registration fee. Out-of-state riders can explore Minnesota's ATV trails this weekend as well without the need for a non-resident ATV trail pass. There's more than 3,000 miles of state forest and grant and aid trails. It's the second weekend of June every year.
Wow.
A new web tool will make it easier for you to find a shooting range. If you're looking to get out and sight in your rifle or just go do some banging, shooting ranges, 350 shooting ranges are found throughout the state, but if you don't know where they are, there's a new finder on the DNR website. DNR also has a new head of Fish and Wildlife, by the way. Dave Oldfelt is retiring, and Kelly Straka will be replacing him. Kelly is a wildlife veteran who started at the DNR in the Shallow Lakes program before working in Hawaii, Missouri, and Michigan before coming back to Minnesota as wildlife section manager. Oldfelt will stay on as the DNR transitions to electronic licenses next spring. He's going to help facilitate that transition. That's according to Tony Kennedy, the Star Tribune, by the way. Thank you, Tony. And then also, according to Outdoor News, the DNR has set the state's waterfowl hunting seasons, including that 5-day early teal season. It's slated for Sunday, September 1st, and we'll be talking about more of that, I'm sure, as we get closer to fall. All right, we have got Joe Henry coming up and also Ben Brettingen talking about OnX Fish when we come back here in 1 second. But don't forget, Tasman Lake Lodge is opening up for the season June 14th. There are still openings to get up there for world-class lake trout and trophy northern pike fishing. We'll be up there June 29th through July 13th, filming for Tasman TV. If you haven't seen that yet, look for the Tasman Lake Lodge YouTube channel. You can watch it there or on Carbon TV as well. And if you come up during that time, you will probably make it onto Tasman TV yourself if you want to. So find out more about booking a trip to Tasman Lake Lodge at tasmanlake.com. Ben Brettingen when we come back. Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. All right, now we're going to bring on Ben Brettingen here onto the show from OnX. Ben, how's it going?
Fantastic. Happy to be back and looking forward. Summer is in full swing.
I can't believe it's June already. You know, I was just talking to, I was in Fish. Thomas Allen from In Fisherman's coming up to Tasman Lake this year, so I was on the phone with him, and he's like, that's coming up pretty quick. I said, yeah, we're less than a month away from that trip. And he's like, summer's going to be half over by the time we take this trip. And I said, yeah, it goes way too fast. Now, I'm somebody that I can't wait till fall, so I don't really mind a quick summer necessarily. But, with all the fishing that we do now, I don't mind summer being a little extended if we can have it.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you there. And
we've been out a fair amount. Have you been doing much fishing?
Yeah, I've actually been doing a fair amount of fishing. So, from before opener, chasing panfish up north, all the way up to this past week I've was up Lake of the Woods, Northwest Angle in Canada. So yeah, I've been out a fair amount. How's it been going? Great. It's always every year's a little bit different, especially this year with our early spring in comparison to last year with super late spring. It's always just kind of figuring out where the fish are on that seasonal pattern. So just always something to explore. And the nice thing is once you figure out where they're at in that cycle, you can do pretty well. So the panfish bite was really good kind of from the onset right before fishing opener. I can't say I did much right after ice out, but and the other nice thing is if you're still looking to chase panfish, the crappies, at least up in the northern part of the state, are still shallow, and a lot of the panfish, to my knowledge, what I've been hearing, haven't moved up quite yet, so those are still going. Was up at Lake of the Woods last week, and Lake of the Woods, you guys know it's a absolute factory. So fishing is always good, but we had nights that were down into the 30s. We had some fronts kind of rolling through, which isn't very uncommon for the end of May, early June, but it can shut fish off. But it was interesting in a lot of the areas we had traditionally found fish. They weren't there at all, actually. But then once we kind of got on the pattern, it was tremendous as always. Kind of that a little bit deeper this year, kind of that 19 to 25, 26 foot range. We spent a lot of time in 22 to 26, and normally this time of year you're 14 to 19. So you could tell it has definitely progressed a little bit. But with the advent of forward-facing sonar, you're able to get on them quite a bit quicker and just kind of see what mood they're in. And after it seemed like we found out what they were interested in, then it was kind of lights out fishing. So
there's so much fun with live scope, so much fun. But just addressing the, I don't even want to call it controversy right now surrounding it, but all the discussion about it, I'm all for it. And my argument is that it helps you learn about the fish, just like what you were saying. It helps you find them and it helps you learn about them. And it definitely helps you catch fish, but it doesn't catch the fish for you. Like we found out, Dan, when we fished the other day, because last year we fished a lake and we live scoped. We found this school of walleyes that we live scoped, and it was so much fun just pitching in and picking them off one by one. We definitely would not have known about that school without the live scope. And we went back to the same place this year, almost the exact same time of year, and had a completely different experience. And I don't know if we caught any fish. I think I caught one walleye on the live scope, but otherwise we were trolling jigs, not dragging jigs real slow. We were basically trolling jigs and plastics, and that's how we had to catch them this year. So
hey, I guess however it works. We had a similar experience up north right after opener, and the flotillas of boats. It was the week after, and it was so funny because we'd go on the edges of them, and you could live scope into the armadas of boats, and it's like there's probably not any fish here, but then you'd find a school, and very similarly, we threw bobbers at them, we threw jigs at them, jerk baits, and they wouldn't eat. And there were, I wouldn't say herds of them, but 10, 12 to a group, and they were suspended. So generally that's a pretty good sign for fish to be eating, and they just wouldn't eat. So you're right. They won't catch them for you.
I know you moved down south, got away from the stream trout areas a little bit, but my dad brought up a picture that you took a while back. We had it on the cover of Minnesota Sporting Journal magazine, that rainbow trout picture. It was such a cool one. Have you done any stream trout fishing? Do you have any plans to do any?
I actually I did a little bit. I think it must have been right soon after the trout opener. It was actually a northern Minnesota stream, and we were catching some browns, and they had stocked some rainbows in there as well. But my timing must not be very good because it was right after a torrential downpour. So this river was just absolutely cooking, and I can't tell you fly line and tippet and everything, just because they were tight against the bank in these pretty much flooded pockets of, I don't know if they were willows or whatever they were, but my gosh, I lost a lot of tackle. I caught a few fish, but I better stick to the lakes. I think TLC stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to or something like that.
Yeah, don't go chasing something or other.
Waterfalls. So yes, I've done a little bit, but
definitely a first for us today on the show that TLC has been referenced. But
congratulations.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we're here to talk about OnX a little bit too, but you got the new hat on. We're talking about fishing. So let's talk about OnX Fish a little bit for people that don't know about OnX Fish. What's that all about, Ben?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fishing season. It's time to talk about fishing. And yes, OnX just launched OnX Fish. Right now it's in Minnesota, and kind of the crux of it is we want to help you discover more bodies of water to fish, right? To help you be more successful. Not only learning the bodies of lakes or the lakes you already fish, but more so getting out and finding new bodies of water. So we've got a lot of really good data in the app right now. And essentially what you're able to do, one of the great ways that I use it is you are able to filter by species you're looking for, as well as some length parameters. So for example, if I said, let's just say I am staying in the Bemidji area and I want to go chase walleyes. Maybe I've got a smaller boat, so I want to stick to smaller lakes. What I can do is I can go in and click filter by walleyes, and then I can say, hey, maybe I'm going to fish for some bigger walleyes. So I can select only trophy potential lakes, which have fish that have been surveyed over, I think in this case it might be 28 or 29 inches. I can go down and filter by lake size. Say I've got just a 14-foot tinner and I want to keep it under 400 acres. I can go in and query that, and it will spit out a list of lakes in that area that fit those parameters. Same thing with really all species: bluegills, crappies, bass, muskies, northerns, as well as pretty soon we will also have what we call a keeper filter, or filtering for lakes that have a high abundance of fish within that keepable range, or what we recommend keeping. So really powerful. It's going to be really amazing for ice season, getting out and finding some of those lakes that are kind of off the beaten path, but also just help you explore new bodies of water and ultimately, hopefully, increase your repertoire and be more successful.
And this is free right now. You want people to try this out, don't you? It's
yes.
I'm not going to call it a beta or anything, but it's kind of like you want them to use it and figure it out and see what's working best, things like that.
100%. That's exactly right. We want you Minnesotans, you fishermen, to get in there and use it and give us feedback. You're able to do that through the app. You can get it. It's only available through iOS right now, but if you are an Android user, you can also use it on your computer through web. But you're able to give feedback, and we would love to hear your feedback. If what you would love to see in the product, what is working well for you, what we need to improve on, would love that feedback. So that's exactly right.
And that's something you can get in the App Store or on the OnX website?
That's correct. Yep. You can just Google OnX Fish. It'll pop right up, or search OnX Fish in the App Store.
All right. Ben Brettingen is our guest from OnX. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk more OnX Fish, OnX Hunt, some of the new features, and some of the really cool, hands-on type stuff. Some of the things that you guys are doing out there outside the app to help create more opportunity for hunters and anglers, and of course preserve some of those traditions. So more with Ben coming up in just a little bit. And right now we want to tell you about a brand new sponsor here at Sporting Journal Radio and Fish Hunt Forever, Guardian Eagle Resort in Ontario. They have 75,000 acres of fishing water that they pretty much have to themselves. So they got walleye, they got pike, and you can fly out of Minneapolis directly to their resort. They've got their own runway, concrete runway right at the resort. So they fly, I believe they fly out of Anoka. So you can jump on a plane right in Anoka, fly right to the resort, and go fish some of those pristine Ontario waters. GuardianEagle.com has all the details. It's Guardian Eagle Resort. Check them out at GuardianEagle.com. Hunting season will be here before you know it, and it's time to get ready for your next adventure with the OnX Hunt app. Whether you're traveling in search of roosters, elk, waterfowl, or looking to score on a whitetail close to home, OnX Hunt can help you be more successful this season. Route, plan, and navigate with private and public land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the Hunt app on the App Store or Google Play and join the millions of hunters that trust OnX Hunt. We're back. This is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network by demand, sportingjournalradio.com, downloading wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or by watching this on YouTube. Talking to Ben Brettingen from OnX right now. And Ben, I just picked up a hat off the OnX website. It's the turkey hat. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a turkey hat for conservation. So part of the deal is when you buy it, it's a kickback for conservation turkey hat. It's limited edition. All proceeds from these limited edition hats will be matched by OnX and donated to gamekeeper grants earmarked for turkey habitat improvement projects. And those are still available on the website. People can get them for a limited time. But that's something that you guys are passionate about there at OnX, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, I mean, we're thankful to be able to be doing well, and we also feel it's very important to give back to our customers, to hunters, to anglers, outdoor enthusiasts, and so, you know, if you've been listening, if you are tapped into the turkey world at all, obviously, especially down south, turkeys are having a little tough go of it, right? And there's not a tremendous amount of solid indicators in terms of causation on why their populations are declining. So we want to help support that research and ensure that we have solid populations of turkeys for generations to come.
You know, I also picked up a new hoodie too while I was on the website. I couldn't resist. There was some cool stuff on there, but I noticed, I feel like constantly, and obviously I follow a lot of Pheasants Forever content, and a lot of the staff at PF. I see what they share on social media, and I just keep seeing the OnX logo all over the place. And so May was Hands-On Habitat Month, but some of these Hands-On Habitat projects are continuing here into June, aren't they?
Yeah, if you go to pheasantsforever.org/hands-on-habitat, you can see if there's an event near you that you can help support the birds that we love, right? I am not rich by any means. I give what I can, but a great way to support the organization, to support pheasants, quail, is to actually go out and help, and whether it's removing fences, or just cleaning up trash and garbage on these places to help ensure that, you know, these places are pristine and we can continue to conserve those resources.
This, to me, is something. I mean, you can donate money, and a lot of people just donate money. I'm a lifetime member, and you know, I donate when I can, you know, prints or time or whatever. But time like these kind of projects can really make a difference. Obviously, purchasing land acquisitions are big, but going out there, like, I have been trying to figure out how I can help organize fence removals. Like, I hunt a lot of public land and a lot of WMAs here in western Minnesota, and a lot of them are old, you know, pasture lands or farm ground, and they still got a lot of barbed wire on them, and some of that barbed wire is just buried, and some of it's buried in, you know, willow thickets or cattail sloughs. It's hard to get at. It's not easy work. So the people that are doing these volunteers, these people that are doing this stuff, I mean, that to me is some of the most important work you can do out there for habitat work. So these are great projects to be a part of.
Yeah, exactly. And the Pheasants Forever staff, they're absolutely fantastic. But, you know, one of the big problems is, like, the legality even involved with going out to these pieces of public land. And I can't just go out there and say, I'm going to start removing fences, right? Yeah. So just bringing awareness to, if there is a down fence that's, you know, grown into the grass, it's not serving any purpose, like, definitely get in touch with either your local chapter Pheasants Forever, or if you go to their website, their regional rep, and just let them know, right? Because otherwise these chapters, like, a lot of the times they are looking for projects to do, and you got to know where there are problems and needs to be able to address them.
I saw something kind of cool coming up in Duluth too. It looks like July 5th. It's a Paddling for the Boundary Waters. It's a Trampled by Turtles pre-concert party at Bent Paddle, and Dead Man Winter, which is Dave Simone from Trampled by Turtles, it sounds like. I didn't know that. That's cool. So he's going to be playing at this party, which makes sense since he's a big bird hunter and a big part of all these things. But that's also so. What, you guys are doing stuff with Sportsmen for the Boundary Waters. It sounds like.
Yeah, we just became actually platinum sponsors for Sportsmen for the Boundary Waters, and they recently we gave them a grant to work on their it's a Pine Island WMA, which is up on Lake Vermilion, to kind of restore that and to help create more habitat for not only deer and grouse, but also to help create access to this WMA it's not landlocked, but otherwise it's difficult to get to. So creating access. So we're really excited to be a part of that. And that was through our OnX Access and Stewardship, our OnX grant program. So yeah, we're excited for that paddle-in event in Duluth coming up soon, where it sounds like it should be a good time. They're raffling off this really cool custom canoe to help raise funds. So if you're a Boundary Water fan, this is a good chance to give back as well.
Gosh, I've been thinking about the Boundary Waters. I saw some video on YouTube of somebody going into the Boundary Waters, and when growing up, we used to take multiple trips up there each year to go camping, and I always called it one of my favorite places on the planet. And now I haven't been back in a long time. I don't really look forward to the portages and the paddling as much as I did when I was 16 or 17 or whatever. But man, what a cool place, and a place that needs to be protected for sure.
Hey, we spend about an hour each summer.
We do get close. We do get real close.
Waters,
but we're
going to Canada.
We're in big boats, yeah.
And we drive right by all the canoers and go, we're not jealous of you.
Sorry.
But they're going to go have fun.
Grenades, yeah. Close enough.
Yep.
Yeah. We still get to enjoy the scenic surroundings of what you see in the Boundary Waters, but we're in motors. So it's a little bit louder and noisier when we go from spot to spot, but
we get there faster.
We do get there faster.
We get to see more of it quicker.
That's right. There's one, and there is one place there's one campsite we go by in the big boats where there's people camping, and there's a rope swing on one of the trees at the campsite. So if we time it right, we always go by some kids camping there, and they're swinging out into the lake. And part of me wants to go back to those days of sleeping in hammocks or in a tent on the rocks where you're sleeping like this, or something. But I like.
Well, it's hard to lug around deep cycle batteries in your canoe for your forward-facing sonar.
Yeah, right. I remember too. My cousin always used to bring his. I don't remember what kind of electronics he had
Probably
back then.
An Eagle.
Yeah, might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he would bring it, and we would make fun of him for putting that thing on a canoe. He'd always outfish us, and I think he'd outfish us without the electronics too. But he always had his electronics hooked up to the side of the canoe, and we used to make fun of him for it. Now I'm trying to figure out how I could hook up a live scope to it.
People do it.
Yeah.
People do it.
I would do it for sure. I want to bring up Path too before we wrap things up here, because I feel like Path was a great idea to begin with, and I feel like it exceeded everybody's expectations, Ben.
Yes, it has. So if you're not familiar, PATH is Pheasants Forever. It's the acronym for Public Access to Habitat in South Dakota. And, we were fortunate enough to be able to support the first 10,000 acres in South Dakota. And as of early May, that 10,000 acres was exceeded. I believe they put roughly about 11,600 acres
Nice.
that is now enrolled in walk-in areas in South Dakota. And that's not going to stop. The team is continuously creating more of this private land public access. And it's really just continuing to bolster South Dakota's pheasant hunting tradition and drawing people in to experience world-class pheasant hunting. So certainly giving back to those to that state. And as well as another cool thing that just happened was Nebraska has launched a very, very similar program called it's called Nebraska Community Access Program. NCAP is the acronym. Very similar, and really just engaging those local people and that build it and they will come mentality. So these community leaders, they band together, able to raise money to support tourism and hunting in their area because it brings in dollars and it matters. There are a lot of small towns that rely on hunting for their livelihood, right? If it wasn't for September, October, November, December, their businesses would be insolvent. So they understand the need for it. And it's really cool to see that program taking off and spreading across the country. So that was our goal, is to be able to scale it. And it's fun to see Nebraska catch on and really take it to another level. So
these are the things that, I really enjoy hearing about a company like OnX. Obviously, I'm happy for our partnership, and that's great. But what OnX has as a product is amazing in itself, and it's to me, it's changed the game when it comes to how to figure out where to go hunting, and making sure you're where you're supposed to be. But these stewardship, these outreach events and opportunities, these things that you guys do, that's going above and beyond making sure that we have a future in the outdoor world. That's kind of the approach we like to try to take here at Fish Hunt Forever. We try to do more than just, do a podcast or the TV show or whatever. Try to go above and beyond to leave a legacy or to try to preserve our traditions in the outdoor space. So these kind of things, Ben, I mean, that's what sets you apart. If you talk about competitors in a marketplace, what sets you apart? I mean, obviously there's features and benefits, but when you talk about doing things like this and donating and fundraising, that's amazing stuff. And so hats off to you. Keep up the good work over there.
I sure appreciate it. And then, like you said, it's just, right now we're using it, but what I hope to see is, I've got a 2-year-old daughter, right? And it never really sank in that, it's great. I get to use it now, but what is it going to look like in 20 years, 30 years? So not only creating more access and better experiences for us, but also ensuring that others in future generations will get to experience the same opportunities or better that we have.
Well, I appreciate coming on today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about hunting competitions and dog competitions and things like that. We kind of ran out of time for that, so we'll have to have you back. But I want to talk to you off air because I would like to get something scheduled for Prairie Sportsman to come out and do some filming. So let's talk about that. And Ben Brettingen, OnX Fish. You Minnesota anglers, go out there and get the OnX Fish app and try it out and leave some feedback and have some more success on the water. But Ben, thanks for the time today on the show. And I just want to mention, if you're in the Twin Cities, Prairie Sportsman, by the way, TPT Life, the channel in the Twin Cities, Saturdays at 3:30. I guess we're preempted by, what did I say?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel this week.
I don't know. You can't really get upset about that one.
I mean, sure. But I found out today, we're on the Minnesota channel. So anybody watching across Minnesota, I think across North Dakota, I think the Minnesota channel bleeds into South Dakota, Wisconsin and Iowa too a little bit. But the Minnesota channel of TPT in Minnesota, they carry Prairie Sportsman 4 times a day, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at midnight, 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. So, and of course, you can watch them anytime on YouTube. So there you go. There is your chance to watch Prairie Sportsman pretty much anywhere. If you're watching this, you'll be able to find it. Ben Brettingen, good luck this summer, and thanks for being on the show this week.
Appreciate it, guys.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
All right, now we're going to talk walleyes up at the Walleye Capital with Joe Henry from Lake of the Woods Tours. And probably not just walleyes, Joe. I mean, that's what everybody, of course, thinks about when they think about Lake of the Woods. But Lake of the Woods has got a lot of different fishing for some great fishing for other species. And you experienced that recently while you were up there, didn't you?
It just so happened, and if listeners were listening last week, I was up at the Northwest Angle, and really kind of interesting. I had meetings and such, and there was about a little over a day that I was able to fish with my family members who were up there fishing for the whole time while I worked. And so I took them out fishing, and we were doing a milk run, going from spot to spot to spot. Heck, we jigged, we pulled spinners, and we even pulled cranks, and we found some fish. It was not a slam dunk, but we caught some nice fish. And I'll tell you what we did. Eventually, there's a little bit of a bug hatch going on. And what you're going to notice is when you're on a big lake like Lake of the Woods, all summer long, there can be different kind of bug hatches. Most people think of mayflies. Some people think of fish flies. But there's different kind of insects that are constantly hatching. And it was really interesting because so towards the end of the day, I didn't want to fish over rocks because a couple of the anglers we had with us in the boat would get caught in the rocks a lot. They weren't real skilled that way, and that's fine, no problem. So I wanted to go to a rocky area and fish it. So what I did is I pulled crankbaits over the top of it with a trolling motor, and it topped out at about 5 or 6 feet of water. And we just pulled, in this case, they're Rapala scatter wraps, and I always like that gold Albertus color on Lake of the Woods. That gold on Lake of the Woods and that stained water is really good. But we pulled cranks over the top of it, and I'll tell you what, we lit it up. And it was interesting because I pulled over one top, I pulled over another area, the third area had way more bug carcasses than the other areas. And that's where the majority of the fish were. So we started going back and forth over that area, and every pass we'd catch a fish. We'd catch pike, we'd catch walleyes, we'd catch smallmouth bass. We caught 141-inch pike doing that. We caught some over walleyes. We got a couple eater walleyes. I mean, in the pike, we got a lot of pike. So, but it was very, very fun fishing, very entertaining. And again, it's just interesting to see what happens on that big water.
Did I hear about a 41-inch pike?
My brother Jim got a 41-inch pike. Yep. And got it on and we're lucky because, when you get a big pike, and even the smaller pike were inhaling that crankbait. But it just so happened that this fish was hooked so that the line wasn't in his mouth to get affected by the teeth, right? And this fish made some runs. I mean, it when it ran, man, it was rip and drag as fast as you could rip drag, and it went around the back of the boat. Then it went on the other side of the boat. And it went on the other side of the boat. All the times it was rip and drag. He had to reach that rod, stick it right in the water around the outboard motor in the back, and it was a kind of a melee, which makes it fun, right? I had to tell, in this case, it was my brother and my sister-in-law and my sister. I'm like, there's 2 Patties in the group. Okay, Patty, can you step out of the way? All right, Patty, can you step out of the way? All right, Patty, can you step out of the way? Because I was going back and forth with a net over and they're kind of smiling, and finally that fish came up and we scooped that thing. And of course, it took a little extra to get it, that big fish in this normal net, landing net. And this fish was big. I mean, it was girthy too, 41, his personal best. And but that's Lake of the Woods, man. We got a 35-inch pike earlier fishing walleyes. We got some nice over walleyes, which had to let them go, right? Bummer? No bummer at all. Actually got a real nice picture of them and let them go and spawn again, Just a fun day of fishing.
Say a guy wants to go up there and pull crankbaits, like that's something they want to do, or they hear that you talk about this and they say, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do it. What kind of gear are you using, like rod, reel, line, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I was with my, if I'd be fishing a tournament, I'd be much more dialed in with line counters and things like that, get much more exact and everything. This was fun fishing with family. So what we did is we just threw out the scatter wraps. I like that lure a lot. It could have been a shallow dive and shad wrap or any other brand of crankbait for that matter. But, we just pulled over that. I knew I was going to be in 5 to 10 feet of water. And I figured that even in that shallow stuff, our lures might bump once in a while, and most of the time, if we would snag a rock, we could go back for it and get the crank out because the crank wouldn't be caught in there too bad. And that was true. We didn't lose any cranks to snags. But it was just a matter of casting out. I make one long cast with a spin cast reel, give it 2 arm lengths of line, and tighten up the bail and to go driving around. And that was simple as that. I will say this, as the season goes on and those fish start getting deeper, now I've really, and you know this from the Rainy River, I talk about it, I enjoy a 3-way rig where you can take a 3-way swivel, put about a 2-foot drop with maybe a 2-ounce weight or a 3-ounce weight, and then put a 6-foot piece of mono or fluorocarbon off the back with a shallow dive and crankbait. And the reason I like that 3-way is because, I can be pulling that in, 6 or 7 feet of water. But then if we drop off and start going down to the 20, 25 feet of water, I can go up and down those breaks, almost like I do with a bottom bouncer and a spinner. So that's another way I like pulling cranks, but it doesn't have to be rocket science. And, the big thing is just getting the crankbait in the depth where you think the fish are living. North of Garden Island, just north of Garden, there's a lot of water out there it's that 10 to 15-foot variety. And pulling a shad wrap through that area and covering water can be really effective. And then once you get on a pot of fish, don't be afraid to figure 8 them or circle them. And it's just very effective.
Joe, we use live scope so often now, but at a place like that up there, you don't really need to. And one of my favorite ways to fish was to pull spinners around some of that structure if you can find some. But really, you don't need to even be on structure. You can get on that south end in that big basin there, and you can just kind of cover water, whether it be pulling spinners or pulling those crankbaits. Maybe even if spinners get a little tough, maybe those get switched to a crankbait and kind of generate more of a reaction bite. Although a spinner can do that too, but maybe something a little bit faster or something a little bit bigger profile or something like that, and just cover water and look for those fish that are out there roaming.
100%. I love spinners and crawlers. In fact, I think our charter boats, when the water starts warming up a little bit, and I tell you, it's going to be real quick. I know we caught a fish on spinners this last trip, but our charter boats make a living walleye fishing with a spinner and a crawler during the summertime, bar none. Those fish are in deeper water. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're deep or shallow. You can use a spinner just about anywhere, and you're covering a lot of water. Let that thing over the side. As long as that spinner's spinning, you got live bait. That spinner's affecting their lateral line, and you can cover big distances by drifting or trolling, those spinner rigs. Now, you talk about the crankbait, Brett. When you get in that deeper water, for some anglers, it gets a little bit more complicated to fish those cranks deep because in some cases they use lead core line. Some people will use a downrigger if they have them. One really easy way that's inexpensive to get your crankbait down deep on Lake of the Woods and have success, if it's mid to late summer and those walleyes are down deep, use a 4-ounce bottom bouncer. Just get some 4-ounce bottom bouncers, and it's going to be a little heavy at first on your rod, but once you get used to it, it's nothing. Put a 6-foot piece of mono on that thing and a shallow dive and crank, and then you can adjust whether you want that thing dragging the mud or whether you want it just off the mud. Maybe you want those fish to have to come up and hit it, which sometimes increases your strike percentage. But there's a lot of ways to get her done, and it doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be really quite simple. The kicker is just finding those fish. Watching your electronics will normally be the key to that.
So a few things have traditionally been enemies of the angler. Bug hatch, which you mentioned already, and that actually worked out for you. That's where you found the fish, was where the bug hatch was. But wind, and it's been pretty windy, at least here where we're at, here in western Minnesota this past week. Lake of the Woods is a big lake. So when you get some windy conditions like this, what do you tell people, Joe?
That's a great question. Hey, I remember talking to Jim Kelkoven. Jim Kelkoven was a former director of the Professional Walleye Trail, and he was talking about, I think I might have had his son with them, and he talked about how some of the fishing party, it started blowing out, so they were staying on the resort on the Rainy River. So some of the guys decided to go to the bar and play cards and do that sort of thing. He and his son went out in the Rainy River and started pitching docks and just doing a milk run. They caught walleye, saugers, pike, smallmouth, perch. I mean, So number one, the Rainy River is an option. The Rainy River, there's 42 miles of navigable Rainy River, and it's not big water, so you can fish almost everywhere. If it's really, really howling and you want to get out of the wind in the river, just go around one of the curves and find some structure. There's always options on the river. Another option is to go to the leeward side of the lake. If the wind is cranking hard from the south, any south access will do. If it's cranking hard from the west, slide over to Warroad and put in over at one of the Warroad boat ramps. I mean, there's different options. Another option is the northwest angle. Believe it or not, you're only about an hour or hour and 15 minutes or so from the south end, depending upon where you're staying, if everybody has credentials to drive up via automobile to the angle. Otherwise, if you're staying up at the northwest angle with the 14,552 islands, there's always an island to hide behind. Brett, a lot of our guests that go up to the northwest angle, some will fish Minnesota. It's great fish, and that's what I normally do. But, a lot of in fact, the majority of anglers that go to the northwest angle, they'll slide over the border into Ontario waters. It is much smaller water up there because there are so many islands, and you always got calm spots regardless of how windy it is. Yeah. So it's really a nice option. And the other thing too is, a non-resident Ontario fishing license doesn't cost very much. It's not that expensive. And then the other thing is, if you're not going to touch land in Ontario, you don't need to call into customs each day. You can just boat over to Ontario, fish, catch your fish, and then you boat back, and you don't have to check in with Canada Customs or U.S. Customs. Now, if you're going to do a shore lunch over in Ontario, a lot of the islands over there, they call them Queensland. They're public. If you want to go over to a resort and have lunch, if you want to stop over there and get bait from somebody, well, now you're going to have to call in, and it's not a big deal. You call the 888 CAN Pass number, you answer a few questions, and you write down a verification number. You slide over there, do your fishing, do your day, and then when you come back, just when you get back to your resort at the northwest angle, almost every one of them has an iPad now. You just check back in with U.S. Customs after you've ordered your favorite beverage. It's become so easy to go do that. But you talk about getting out of the wind. That's also another great way.
Yeah, and we did that a little bit, I think, when we were up there on the Rainy this spring, because we had Ontario licenses. There's a couple of other things. You can't put an anchor down, right, without calling in.
Technically, when you boat across, you have to just, like, if you're not going to call into customs, you boat across, and you can't touch land, you can't anchor, you can't moor, you can't exchange goods or services or touch a dock. When you go to Canada, when you fish Ontario waters, you can't have any alcohol on board that you're drinking. You cannot bring any bait over, live, dead, frozen, any bait from America. They're worried about aquatic invasive species, AIS. What you can do is just, over there, use plastics and such. Or if you want to, you can stop at a Canadian resort, and the resorts up in the angle know which ones sell it. But you can stop over there and pick up some bait, and then, go fish in Ontario waters with live bait if you so choose.
And then you're supposed to have like your passport with or something though when you do that, right? Or some sort of identification.
Yeah, and it gets technical. Basically, when you call and get permission, normally they don't ask for a passport when you're calling in from a boat, but it's always good to have it with if you have it. And if you don't have one, it's my understanding that they still let people come in and fish who don't have passports.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's an option. There's a lot of options. That's one thing that's great about that lake up there is you have a lot of options. And, when you talk about bouncing over to the river on a windy day, I've never really felt crowded on that lake, maybe going through the gap or something during certain times of the year. Maybe it'll get a little busy around there. But otherwise, I'm sure the river this time of year, getting into the summer a little bit, you'll have a lot of that river to yourself, I bet.
Oh, 42 miles of navigable Rainy River. And I'll tell you what, sturgeon season opens again July 1st. And you know what, if you want to go, if you find the fish, jig them. Otherwise, pull spinners or pull crankbaits to cover water, and you'll catch fish. I remember fishing a Minnesota tournament when it was howling out on the lake. We got in the river and we were pulling lead core with crankbaits down the middle of the river. And I remember on our sonar, it was not showing any walleyes. And we pulled lead core and caught some nice walleyes and kept going back and forth and catching nice walleyes. Well, the kicker there was there's little sand rifts where the sand kind of comes up and then it goes down and it comes up and it goes down. And those walleyes will sit on the bottom of the river in those depressions. And then the sonar goes, right over the top of them to the two tops of the sand rifts near them. And you don't see them on there. But, there's a lot of fish to be had in that river. Smallies, pike, sturgeon. If I don't have to tell you, you've done it. If you go soak night crawlers for sturgeon, you'll probably get some walleyes and some saugers. You'll certainly get suckers. You might get some eel pout. And then, of course, you get your sturgeon,
Well, if people want to get a trip planned up there this summer, what should they do to find out more info?
Check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC.
If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.